Are you ready?
I think I should put on pants before we record.
Okay. Welcome to Dreadful Digest, where we look at your favorite horror novels and report their adaptations. I'm your host, Tessa Nelson, and I am joined
Sam.
by my... Oh my god, wait, that's not how we start an episode. I've been so used to having guests where I introduce them on. But yeah, Sam's here. We're back. And we are recording remotely again.
Yeah.
So yeah, today we are covering the Stepford Wives. Now, Sam, this was your choice. You wanted to cover this because I didn't even know it was technically horror. But
now that you've seen it, do you think that it is? I'm curious.
I would say the 1975 one, which is what we're mainly focusing on, and as well as the book. I get horror vibes for sure.
I agree with you. It's funny because I actually feel like the movie is more horror-esque and the book is more like mystery thriller-esque because you don't really know, in the book. Kind of, but you don't, it's not so explicit, I feel, as in the movie. They show everything. For the most part.
Oh, yeah, especially at the end. Which is interesting because I was expecting it to be a little bit more spooky, but like with Rosemary's Baby, and yeah, it was very straightforward. So the book is so short, so it's was
a 4-hour audio book.
Crammed a lot into like, what was it, 120 pages or so. So yeah, the movie definitely had more room to kind of play around a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I'm so glad I got you to watch it because this was a Sam push for sure. I feel like I pushed this
since
a year
the
ago.
Beginning of the episode.
I was like,
our podcast.
Well, and the reason why is because, okay, and you watched the Nicole Kidman version, right?
I did. I watched it last night.
I am so glad that you got to watch it because I genuinely, since this podcast started, the concept of comparing books to movies, this work of fiction strikes me so aggressively because it's so interesting how the book, which I think, as we've discussed, is a very clear, straightforward, short narrative, and then they make a TV movie out of it, and they take some creative liberties there, but the 2004 version is such a product of the times, and it just stomps on the face of it's just talk about, it's like a game of telephone of a story, it's like, oh, there were, the names are the same. And so anyway,
right.
At the concept of this podcast and what we cover, that's why I've been wanting to talk about this for so long, is because I'm like, this is such a case study of adaptations and the directions they can go. So
yeah, it's really fascinating how different it is. The reason why I was hesitant to cover the 2004 version in this episode was because I was like, well, it's not horror, and we're a horror podcast. Would people be fine with that? I don't know, what do we dive into that, because then where does it end?
Right.
But I think we're probably going to be going back and forth between both adaptations, and it's it's fascinating. And also, Ira Levin originally wanted the Stepford Wives to be a comical play. So, maybe there's a little bit of, you could kind of see how it translated a little bit. Because the line between horror and comedy is so thin with this storyline. It could really go either way. So
it's so crazy. And especially and we'll talk about this probably, but especially when we get into the Disney part of it, where it's just kind of what? They
call me Diz for Disney.
For Disney, because I used to work at Disney, and she's like, okay.
You seem like somebody that would work at Disney, but
yeah. Oh my god, I just spilled Red Bull all over my bed.
Well, Sam, what is your history with the Stepford Wives?
Well, I did just kind of get into it, but I mean, to be honest, when
did you first interact with it?
So it was recommended to me by my former roommate a few years ago. She just thought that I would like it. She was a really big Ira Levin fan. I'd say she probably got me into Ira Levin. And yeah, she just thought I would like Rosemary's Baby, and she thought that I would like Stepford Wives, and she let me both her copies, and I'd heard of the movie and I'd heard of the phrase like in the zeitgeist, like, oh, she's a
Yeah.
Stepford wife. And a song I love is I don't remember what it's called, but she has a line in a song that's like, I'm not gonna be your Stepford wife or whatever. Like it's just kind of one of those things that's like around, especially I think like feminist dialogue, like the
Yeah.
phrase Stepford wife and what it means, because it's become a symbol for, white suburban subservience. And like, I actually don't know much history about the book, but I assume that it's, of the same general wave as like Betty Friedan. Well, I mean, they talk about Betty Friedan in the book.
They
Um,
do. They do.
so it's just kind of one of those works that like I've been generally aware of. When I actually sat down to take a look at it was a different story though, because I actually watched the 2004 version first because I was like,
Okay.
yeah, because I knew about it and I was like, oh, like Stepford Wives, blah 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 blah. Blah. I think, and then if I'm remembering right, I found the 2004 version, I watched it, but while I was looking it up, I found the old version. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this other version too. And the complete difference between how you feel at the end of both of these movies is to be studied. I'm pretty sure I didn't read the book until after I watched both movies.
So we did
Um,
a totally opposite experience because I read it,
um,
watched the 75 version, watched the 2004 version. So we had a totally
which
opposite viewing
yeah,
experience.
and I think that like when I watched the 2004 version, I knew in my heart of hearts like this is not how this should be. But like
Something
I
doesn't
was like,
seem right
this is
here.
not right. So but yeah, so if I'm remembering correctly, that's the order that I did it, and it was within the last 5 years. But ever since then, I was like, this fictional work is so powerful, and I think it's so misunderstood culturally. I think that weirdly we should be talking about it more for different reasons than what we do talk about in that book.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Okay.
in my opinion, I think it's a really strong novel. I feel similarly to that as I do about Rosemary's Baby. I think the TV movie is um it's good. I think it is good. I wouldn't say that it's like great. I think the 2004
Yeah.
version, as I've already said in this episode, is kind of like if someone tried to choke me with like probably a rag with like barbed wire around it, and they
Oh
were
my
like, oh, you
god.
like this because you wear necklaces. That's kind of what it's like.
That is an interesting analogy. Yeah, it is a mess for sure.
One more
I was
thing.
left with a lot of questions, but yeah, go for
One
it.
more thing. I do need to say, I love Nicole Kidman. I love Frank Oz. I
But
love all of the people
but
involved in this movie.
but
But we need to talk about what happened in 2004. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, now please tell me your history with this.
yeah,
Hence me
so
asking you at some point to read this and to do this episode.
yeah, so I had never heard of the Stepford Wives until you talked about it
Are
and
you
you
for
convinced
real?
me. Yes, I'd never heard of it. And obviously, we both love Rosemary's Baby. Check out those episodes where we do a deep dive into that. But yeah, you convinced me to read the book because of that episode and how you kind of framed it. And so, yeah, I was excited going into this episode. So I read the book, really quick read, like I said. Then I watched the 75 version. I was not going to watch the 2004 version, but you convinced me.
You have to see that. You have to see it
I
in
know. I am glad.
context.
I'm glad I saw it so that we can talk about it. But I was also kind of excited to have you try to explain what the
Playing the
heck
2004
happens.
version.
Yeah, I really kind of wanted to experience that, but alas,
And
we're gonna explain it to
there's
you, dear listeners.
there's a part of me that is like, this would have been a really good episode had you not watched it, and I had to
Yeah.
explain the ways that they did it differently, because specifically this adaptation is so off the walls insane. But alas, I
For
needed you to see
sure.
it for yourself.
Yeah, it's something that's you have to believe. You have to see it to believe it. So
You really do.
you really do. Well, Sam, what is your non-spoiler review? You can dive into any version, book, films, whatever you got.
My non-spoiler review is I mean, it has to be something about animatronics. Even though that is kind of a spoiler, there's no way you can talk about Stepford Wives without animatronics. So I guess it'd be
I
kind of
didn't
like,
know. Well, I kind of started getting it pretty quickly in the book, but yeah, I didn't know
yeah,
just
which
from
is
the
so
term
interesting
Stepford
because like
Wives.
when I read the book, like I wasn't picking. I was like, what is happening to them? I was like, why is this
Really?
happening? Yeah, I mean, and then
Oh,
obviously when she figures it out, I was like, oh, but like, you know, well, and there's I mean, I think there's a very obvious clue in the book where Joanna's like, she's like making that little rhyme to herself, and she's like, Stepford wives work like robots for all their lives. There's like, something like she says something like that, and then it's like,
uh-huh.
oh, I like how this is the
We know
non-spoiler
what's
section,
going on
and I
here.
literally
Immediately spill it.
said only spoilers about
Yeah.
Listen, this book
The
came out
wives
in
are
like the
robots,
60s.
so
This book came out in
that's what.
the 60s. The movie has been out for over 20 years. The newest movie has been out for over 20 years.
Yeah.
If you know this reference, you need to catch up. But
I think it's time we have another Stepford Wives film.
I think it is.
Actually done by a woman this time.
A really good, a scary. I mean, I do have to say, like the moment where we see Catherine Ross's eyes black in the
That
70s
was
version,
really good. Yeah, that was solid.
like, is effective. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. My non-spoiler review.
Sorry, we have a lot to talk about. We're very excited to jump into
My
this.
non-spoiler review is I don't know, man. I just love this book. I can't really say anything about it in any particular way.
Okay.
I'm just like,
Okay.
I love this book. This is why we don't go to Disneyland. That's my non-spoiler review.
Don't go into the U.S. president's section.
Don't go into the U.S. president. Hey, do you know the Gettysburg Address?
Non-spoiler review. I really liked the book.
Yay.
I want there to be a film that more accurately represents the themes and the intersectionality and all that stuff that we just have not seen in either film adaptation.
True.
And yeah, I will say the book left me so sad. I haven't felt that way reading a book in a long time, where I genuinely like I finished it at the beach, best place, happiest
I also
place
read it at the beach.
ever.
That's so funny.
Mind meld. And I closed the book and I was just like, wow, that was depressing. Wow, I'm really sad now.
Yeah.
So if you want to read a sad but good book, highly recommend it. Well, let's actually learn what this book's about. I mean, people probably already know, but anyway, the story focuses on Joanna Aberhart, a talented photographer, wife, and young mother who suspects that something in the town of Stepford is changing the wives from free-thinking, intelligent women into compliant wives dedicated solely to homemaking. As her friends start to transform, Joanna realizes the horrific truth. And that is that they are animatronics, which the idea of like robot wives is comical. The idea for some reason of animatronic wives, horrifying. I think just the two were, even though they're basically the same, they just like bring different imagery into my head.
Yeah.
Robot, Five Nights at Freddy's. That's it's like
no, literally
two ways.
There would be no FNAF if it was not for Stepford Wives, in my opinion. Clip that for TikTok.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh man, it is just sad, and I feel like I felt at least this. I listened to the audiobook this time. I read the book originally, but like, you feel this sense of doom for Joanna, like when she's figuring it out. Like she like. And, like, I don't know, but, like, the part that made me really sad this read, not just the final supermarket scene from the other character's perspective, but also when Joanna has the thought where she's like, maybe I'm just the first person who's figured it out. Like, maybe I'm just the first person who got this far. And then it's just like, oh, I bet all of them did. Like, every other woman in that town had that, especially considering, that all of them were part of the women's group before that. And so it's like, it just like hurts, and it's like it's so resonant and poignant. That's why I'm really surprised to hear that Ira Levin wanted it to be a comical play.
I
because
know, right?
it's so it like hurts, you know.
Especially getting, and we'll dive more into the character at the end, but the fact that she has no one. At least Joanna
Mm,
had some friends that they could talk about and like kind of
yeah.
figure things out a little bit. This new character, she's new to town. Joanna was like the only one she really talked to for
Mhm.
reasons we'll get into, but she has no one. She has no idea what's happening, and that is a horrific thought.
Yeah.
The power of community.
You
All
know
right.
what we did
Oh,
not
go
this
for
is
it.
final thought before we actually get into the episode. We didn't cover this, but I am just curious, maybe we can talk about this at the end. A lot of people said that Don't Worry Darling was like heavily inspired slash influenced slash some people said a rip off
I
explicitly of.
totally see that
Now that
after
you've
reviewing
read it,
this.
are you somebody who liked
Yeah.
Don't Worry Darling?
Um, I think I did.
Because most people I
Like,
know, when pretty much everybody I've talked to, where I'm like, "Oh, did you like Don't Worry, Darling?" Most of the time, they're like, if they're like, "Yes," I'm like, "Well, have you read Stepford Wives?" And they have not. And so I'm like, I wonder if they're like, you know,
part of me kind of wishes there were more creepy elements that we see in Don't Worry, Darling in Stepford Wives. I was kind of expecting that.
it's
Like,
a slow. It's like it's like nothing happens for most of the book, and then suddenly it's
mhm.
like, oh, I mean, in the book you don't even really see it, but in the movie
No,
it's like, oh, now
nothing's
it's
ever
happening.
confirmed in the book. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of like I think of the the weird eggs in Don't Worry Darling that have like
true.
nothing in it. Like part of
Yeah,
me was like maybe there could have been like some more little hints of like ooh this is like manufactured. Like everything is made by design. I think
I
I would have liked I would have liked it. I would have found it a bit more creepy.
yeah. I think there's a world between Don't Worry Darling and Stepford Wives where a new Stepford Wives movie could really erupt. Like, I think that there
Yes.
is kind of a psychological element of like going in between the world of like, almost a transitionary thing without spoiling the entire plot of Don't Worry Darling, because that's not the movie that we're covering. But like, I think that there's it's a step away, but it's like they're so similar, but there is a gap still in like what's going on in each one. But the core of it, the thematic core of like, what happens when this seed of, I mean, this is a theme, when the seed is planted in the relationship of like, disregarding your partner to prioritize yourself. So, or disregarding your partner's wishes, I'd say. Because I guess Don't Worry Darling isn't really disregarding your partner. It's more just like she didn't consent to all that. But anyway, not
Yeah.
what we're covering. So
There's
let's
a
get
lot of
into,
themes, a lot of themes we can
there's a
dive
lot
into for
going
sure.
on.
Yes. Well, let's learn a little bit about the book. So, it came out in 1972. It's a satirical feminist horror novel written by Ira Levin. Check out Rosemary's Baby episode to learn more about him. He, like I said, originally intended the novel to be written as a comedic play. I'm curious why he wanted to shift directions with it. Yeah, as we kind of talked about, the term Stepford wife entered common use in the English language after the publication of the book. It is generally used as a derogatory term for a submissive and docile wife who seems to conform to the stereotype of a subservient role in a relationship to her husband. As for the film, it came out, the one we're mostly covering today, came out in 1975. It's an American satirical psychological thriller film directed by Brian Forbes, and it stars Catherine Ross. It was written by William Goldman, who is also known for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, as well as All the President's Men. So he's got some
Ooh,
big
AFI
names.
Top 100 movies.
Oh, you have that list memorized?
Certain ones, because when I was in college I tried to go through all of them, so like I not everything, but I have a decent lock on what's on there, but the 10th anniversary version, because the original version still has Birth of a Nation.
Ooh. Wait,
So
their 10th anniversary of the list?
They did a 10th anniversary of 100 years, 100 movies. The original top 100 of AFI had the
Mm,
OGs,
I
and then
think
like
that's what I saw. Yeah.
the 10th anniversary version, that's the one that like they got rid of the things that are like point blank offensive, pretty much.
Yeah, we don't need to be
Butch
remembering that
Cassidy's up
kind of
there
stuff.
though, and so
Right?
is All the President's Men.
Wow, congrats, Goldman. Why isn't Stepford Wives on there, AFI?
Yeah,
Hmm?
what's going on? What's going on?
Funny. Interesting. So according to Goldman, he said, quote, Brian Forbes rewrote all of Stepford until the last 20 minutes of the film, which is mine. He would have rewritten that too, but he didn't have any time. I'm not saying that it would have been better if it had been mine, but I'm saying it isn't mine, and I wanted my name off of it, and they didn't take it off. End quote. Sorry, that was a long quote, but
Wow.
basically,
Wow.
he's saying that he didn't even write it, so maybe that's why it's not on the AFI Top 100.
There you go.
Interesting. Brian De Palma was actually initially going to direct. However, Goldman threatened to leave the film if this happened. Goldman has got some hot takes.
Wait, what's his name?
What's his name? William Goldman.
William Goldman.
Which, like, if your script was rewritten anyway, maybe you would have been better off with Brian De Palma directing.
This is live reaction to me learning about who this man is. He also did Princess Bride and Misery.
Oh. Wait, he wrote Misery? Why didn't that come up on Wikipedia? Okay, so we mentioned Betty Friedan. She did not have some nice things about this. So, some reaction from feminist activists were very divided at the time of its release. Friedan dismissed it as, quote, a ripoff of the women's movement.
I could see that. I guess I don't view it that way, though. Also, Betty Friedan had a lot of outdated opinions about a lot of other things.
She did, right? She was very much more focused on white women's feminist issues.
That,
right?
and also explicitly homophobic in her writing.
Okay, so we don't really care what you think.
Wait, let me not slander Betty Friedan.
Let's not throw misinformation out there.
Of the movement, so I don't want to just completely. Yeah, she coined the term lavender menace to describe gay people. So she was anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Basically she was anti-lesbian women being part of the feminist movement.
Oh, okay, that does ring a bell, actually.
All that to say, she had a lot of good stuff to say too, and like, you know, obviously relevant to Stepford because, like, you know, I would think of this as a companion piece to the feminine mystique. No, like that's what I would think of it as. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what she was thinking, but I mean, maybe who's to say if maybe she liked the book and didn't like the movie. And maybe she would have been listening to our podcast. Yeah, she's talking about the movie.
Oh, do we know what she thought about the book?
I don't know that.
Tessa, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, I did like an hour of research.
What did this dead woman think about this book?
I know. That's what we're really here for. That's the information that we really need. Well, somebody that's not dead and who is very much alive is Jordan Peele. He he listed the film as one of the inspirations behind his directorial debut, Get Out.
I totally
very much
believe
can see that. 100%. Yeah. Did you know there are 3 straight-to-TV sequels to the Stepford Wives?
How could there be sequels?
I know. This is the stuff I live for. This is why I wanted to start the podcast, is to find the random sequels and prequels and reboots that exist.
Revenge?
So, yeah. You want to read them?
Stepford Husbands?
Yes. So we have Revenge of the Stepford Wives, the Stepford Children, and the Stepford Husbands.
Hey,
now,
what are they doing to the
this
kids?
is what Patreon would be for, people. If you want us to cover this stuff, you need to subscribe and let us know you want to see it, because I really need to see these random sequels that exist out there. that
It's
no
true.
one else
You
has
can't watch
ever
them unless
seen.
you subscribe. We're only able to
Yep.
watch things when you subscribe.
Yep. For every subscription we do, we get one step closer to opening a Patreon. Just keep that in mind, folks. Um, Besides that, we're obviously going to talk about the 2004 version of the Stepford Wives. It was directed by Frank Oz, and it features Nicole Kidman, Bette Midler, Matthew, Matthew Broderick. I said it right the second time.
Yeah, you got it.
Christopher Walken and Glenn Close. It was intended to be more comedic than the previous versions. So that is all my research for the book and the 1975 film. Should we dive into the main segment?
Let's do it.
All right. Jumping into the beginning of the 1975 movie, we see the Eberhards leave their apartment in New York for Stepford. This is a scene that is exclusive to the film. We don't see this take place in the book. In the book, they have already moved in, and they are welcomed by the, what is she called? The welcome wagon lady?
Yeah, that's what they call her, like welcome wagon lady or something.
Yeah, and she's asking Joanna all these questions about what she does so that she can put it in the newspaper, and it does become important later on in the book. So early on in the film, there seem to be some cracks in the relationship between Walter and Joanna. This is something that doesn't really happen at the beginning of the book. In the book, they seem pretty fine. They seem to be getting along. But yeah, in the beginning of the film, we kind of start seeing like they're not quite on the same page. Walter's already starting to be irritated that Joanna's forgetting things like their dog that they leave in the apartment. And he's kind of getting irritated that he has to do things and his wife isn't doing them for him. So,
Can I say, if I may interrupt here, one of the things
yeah,
that is so horrifying to me about the book that is very different from both movies, I feel, is that, and this is interesting too because when I listened to the audiobook I didn't get this impression, but when I was reading the book and I was reading Walter's dialogue, I actually thought that like it didn't seem like they had any issues at all, and it didn't seem like he got.
exactly.
It seemed like they had a playful relationship. If anything, I mean, NSFW here, but like Joanna talks about how she likes having sex with him, and like they have a
Yeah,
generally pretty healthy relationship for the foundational part of the book. But like you said, in the '70s movie, that's simply not the case at all. And I think what's so much scarier about the book, what's effective to me about the book and why it is scarier is because that's why the gaslighting is so difficult to read, is because you are kind of like in the same way that in Rosemary's Baby you're kind of like, wait, Rosemary could be crazy. And same thing with Joanna in this one where you're kind of like, but why would Walter do that? Like why would Walter do that to her? And it's like,
hmm I
because
think that's. Oh, go yeah. Finish your thought.
well, no, I mean that was the end of the thought.
I think what Ira Levin does so well, and which is surprising because obviously he's a guy, is the fact that he can write about women's fears so well. Like the idea, obviously, in Rosemary's Baby is that nobody believes her. She knows something's going on. Nobody believes her, and that's kind of the case with this book as well. But he also dives into the idea of the fear, and I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I've definitely thought about it as somebody who is kind of, anti-marriage, weary of that whole thing, is the idea that you hear so many stories of like, oh, my husband, he was perfect, he was great, and then we got married and something like switched.
Hmm.
And you hear that all the time on Reddit and in real life, but it I think this book, yeah, it captures that fear so well because he does seem genuinely like he cares and takes her interests at heart. And when she suggests like, hey, I think I kind of want to move away, he's like, yeah, supportive for this. Like he seems like a good person, and that's what makes it so much more horrific. In both films, like Walter seems like a scumbag in both versions. Like the way he immediately is like objectifying the other Stepford wives and kind of being he even like in both versions he joins the men's association just because he wants to.
Right.
In the book he's like, oh well, the only way for me to change it from being like this sexist organization is for me to go in and change it from the inside. And so he really is written to be like a character that, like, yeah, on paper he seems like a pretty chill dude,
Yeah.
that actually cares about his wife and his children and wants the best for them. And then the fact that he doesn't makes it all the more horrifying.
Right. Well, Walter is the OG performative male. Like, and I think that's like before there were performative males, there was Walter. Like, Walter was the one who's part of the women's lib movement, and like Joanna's
Yeah.
bragging about that to her friends, and like he's like, oh yeah, like it is super outdated, and like, you know, I want you to be there, and like I'm
I
gonna
want you to sit in on these dinners with
but I
them.
don't really want to, and like, you know, blah 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 blah. But it's like, but it's just crazy because with performative men running rampant nowadays,
Yes.
it's out of control, ladies and gentlemen.
It's
The performative men are out of control, and they learned how to do it from who? Textbook Walter.
Yep, Walter's the OG. If he
On
was
our
alive
list of,
now,
like,
he'd be
yeah. If he was alive
yeah.
now,
If he was
he's a real person.
if he was a real person, he would be drinking a matcha, wearing a tote bag,
He'd be reading feminist literature.
reading the bell jar. You know, yeah, that
That'd
would be
Walter.
Walter.
That'd be Walter,
Yeah.
and like, you know, and it's
Have it go to a
scary.
gender studies class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to add Walter onto our men
I was
we
gonna
hate
say on our
more.
list of men, like men we
Yes,
hate in
he's
the horror.
going on
And
the board.
isn't Rosemary's husband also on our
Yes,
list?
he is.
Yeah.
Ira Levin is 2 for 2. He knows how to write scummy guys.
Yeah, and it's also like it's not just like bad guys. It's like the actual type of guys that you encounter that like gain your trust and then manipulate you based on it. It's like that's
Yeah.
Walter is such, you know, those like the villain of the story and then the real villain of the story. Walter.
That's Walter. Yep.
That's Walter. Anyway, continue.
100%. Something that the 2004 version gets a little bit better is how they portray the Stepford wives in terms of their appearance. So in the book, it's described as them having tight-fitting clothes. You know, Joanna kind of comments like, "Wow, their like boobs and their butt look great. Like, what is going on? Everybody looks like a model." And in the 2004 version, that is definitely the case. In the 1975 version, they look more homely. That might not be the right word.
No, I know what you
They
mean.
look more.
They look more like I would say they look almost more motherly. Like they look a little
Yes.
they're fuller bodied, whereas in the book it's, you know, specifically commented that they are like slim.
Yeah,
For
slim,
the
wearing
most part.
slim fitting clothes, even like pajamas, they're like looking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and there was a reason for why they do look a bit different. I can't remember whose wife was cast, but one of the creatives, their wife was cast, and she is not, you know,
Not a
your
Stepford
typical
wife.
model.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not your typical Stepford wife. And so they kind of were like, well, we kind of have to match what they look like based on her. I wish I had like the names and stuff, but I didn't end up writing it down. So there was a reason why they didn't continue that route with the film. But yeah, it was a bit different there.
That's interesting. That makes a lot of sense though. I thought it was just because beauty
Mhm.
standards were different, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
I don't. It's interesting because something I noted with the 1975 version was how revealing Joanna's outfits were. Like for a
Mhm.
mom, especially, I was like, obviously, that actress looks amazing in anything,
Ross is
but she was
amazing.
wearing, yeah. She had like crop tops on and shorts, and I was like, she is not like your
She's great.
typical mom.
She's a cool mom.
She's a cool mom, yeah. And so it does show like the difference in style and how she is a bit the outsider, not really fitting in quite yet, but she will soon. Did you notice that the Eberhards have two girls in the film instead of one girl and one boy?
Oh, there
Because
you go.
I did. Those are the fun notes that I write. I'm like, Pete and Kim? Where? Who are
Where?
these shining twins?
Yeah.
The kids really aren't like big parts in either film. I'm gonna be honest. They
No,
really
yeah.
show up in the
Less
beginning and then
about.
they're gone.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, I will say though, in the 70s version, like, Catherine Ross's character, like, she needs to know where her kids are. Like, the whole reason why she even goes to the men's association at the end is because she's like, "Where are my kids?" for like
Yeah,
10 minutes.
yeah. In the
Whereas
book, she's like,
she's like, "They'll be
I find it.
fine.
Yeah,
Don't
she's
care.
like, they'll be fine. I need to leave.
I need
I'm
to get out of
running.
here.
I
My
will
kids
get.
aren't gonna be lobotomized. Like, it's just gonna be me."
I will come back for them later, but they'll be fine.
Literally, she's like, "They're probably fine. I need to get out of here."
So within the book, there is a character named Claude who is part of the men's association, and he's reaching out to the Stepford Wives, or the soon-to-be Stepford Wives, to record their voice. Can't remember why he wanted to do that. I think it was for some study or
He
something,
said it's a
but
hobby of his.
it's a hobby. Okay, I don't know
Whatever that
what
means.
kind of
What are you
hobby that
doing?
is, but yeah. So in the book, Joanna agrees because her friend Bobby agreed to do it, so she's like, sure, why not? In the film,
Her
Joanna
homegirl Bobby.
homegirl Bobby.
Bobby.
Uh,
Whoop whoop.
I will say, Bette Midler's Bobby was how I envisioned Bobby
Oh,
when I was reading the book.
100%. Yeah,
She
yeah,
fit
I
that
would agree
role
with that.
perfectly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And literally,
mm-hmm.
like, when I was reading the book, even I was picturing Bette Midler as well. Like, she
Yeah.
crushes that part. I don't think that, whatever. There are things about her character in that movie that are not her fault that I don't like, but she crushes that part.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you what that is, and once I finish
Okay.
this thought. But in the film, Joanna promises Claude that she would record her voice if he can get the other wives to meet with her. So this is how they have like a little women's gathering, which is something that only happens in the film. Anyway, your thoughts on Bobby?
First I'm going to say my thoughts on Mike White. Did you recognize him in the 2004 movie?
Don't know who that is. I'm gonna be honest.
Mike White, the creator of White Lotus. Mike
I didn't
White?
even
You don't
finish
know
the
Mike
first
White?
season.
Ugh.
Sorry.
Okay, whatever. Well, he's the guy in the beginning of the 2004 Stepford Wives whose wife leaves him, and then he decides to kill all women. That's Mike
That
White.
was an insane scene. I was like, Sam, why are you having me watch this? I was the I think the biggest problem with
Why
the
are you having me watch this?
because
I
it's
knew
like it
that
was
sounds
so
right.
shocking, and then she gets fired for that. I'm like, just cancel that show. Cancel that show. Like,
Yeah.
it's not her fault.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah, I mean, the thematic differences between the movies are very strong. I mean, for one, we're in the spoiler territory, right? I can just say,
oh
like,
yeah,
really,
yeah.
okay. I mean, for one thing, the fact that it is a woman behind everything in the 2004 version versus a man is in itself very like we are just completely changing like the point of this story. But I would say that that's noticeable from the beginning as well because Joanna in the 2004 movie you kind of you start on a sympathetic foot with the men. It's like you start where it's like, yeah, this powerful girl boss network lady is crazy. Like, why would she make all these shows that are embarrassing men and making them feel bad? And oh yeah, this guy was super offended, but to be fair, like he was humiliated on television,
Two
and
different
like
things.
there's like much more of like a power imbalance because Joanna's power is so much heavier and she has like influence in society against men, and it almost makes it seem like in a weird way like it's almost like, oh, gender politics, like whap whap whap, like this is the push and pull, like this is how it goes, is it's like, oh, you know crazy powerful girl boss lady versus versus
Man who has to hold her
homesteading.
purse.
Man who has to hold her purse. Exactly. Maybe man who has to hold her purse gets upset sometimes, and it's such a
It's like,
reflection of
why do
possible.
you marry them then?
Well, it's also like
That's what gets
take,
me.
that take is, I feel, so 2004. It's like it's such a early 2000s, like, well, it's kind of the woman's fault actually when you think about it for being too independent. And isn't it so funny how we can all laugh about this?
2026. It's a 2026 like ideal
True.
too.
It's just a different ideology, which is funny because it's so different from obviously the source material and the 70s version, where it's like it is the men that are behind this, and it is, which is, it's the performative men that are behind this. Anyway, okay, I need to talk about Bobby. Bobby is where we are actually at in the story.
Bobby, and then I will jump into why the 2004 version does not work for me. So we got we're gonna keep this in order.
So Bobby, okay, so yeah, so there are things that I don't really love about Bobby. I mean, the way that we meet her is such a caricature
Oh my
version
god.
of, she comes on screen and she's just like, "Where are all the people of
Where are the
color?"
black
And
people?
literally, she's
It's like, what?
and like, and it's almost, it's so exaggerated because because she's supposed to be like a raging lib, I guess, and she's also, I think, the only Jewish character in the movie, and it's kind
Right.
of a very aggressive painting of Bobby, who like is like, I think Bet was amazing. And like in the book, like her strong personality like that, and like, the fact that she's all over the place and she's really not a good housewife by that definition, like, you know, that those character choices are so important to her. Um, and I think that comes through. But it's,
She's a writer. Well, she's not a writer in the book, right?
no, she's not.
We don't
The
really know
other
what she enjoys
other
doing.
I'm trying to think if we actually know what she enjoys doing. She's just, I mean, her main thing is that she's kind of a slob, to be honest. It's just that she's
Yeah.
not a perfect
Okay.
woman, and that she's, but she's a really good friend, and she cares about her friends. She cares about Charmaine. And like,
Right.
I mean, she's super funny too. It's like there's all these things that about her versus like
Yeah.
in the movie, in the 2004 movie, I almost feel like the identity politics are so exacerbated that it drowns out the truth of her character, in that at her core she was a really good friend to Joanne and a really good, important person in the community. And instead she is a punchline in the book, but she's so much more of a punchline in the 2004 movie, I think.
Yeah. 100%.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think
go
that
on with
Bette
your
Midler does a
opinion.
great job, but yeah, it's also the movie's like only an hour and a half. Like
Yeah,
they cram a lot into it, so some
yes they
things are
do.
just going to be lost and all that. But I think my main thing with the film is that unfortunately, while the themes of the book are obviously relevant, the movie already feels so outdated.
Which one? The
And
2004 or
the
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 1975?
2004 one,
Yeah.
and I think it's because it at the time, obviously I was 3, so I don't know,
Right.
but at the time they were like, isn't it crazy, this concept of like us going back to the 50s? Isn't that weird, and it would never happen?
Right.
And then it's happening. And it's just
Right.
like, it was hard for me to like laugh and giggle when I'm just like, God, this
Yeah.
is what most men
Exactly.
want. This is awful. This is
Exactly.
horrible.
And the core thing also about, it's not just like that's what most men want. I think that like the thing about the book that's horrifying, at least to me, is that it's like, even though Walter, my man Walter, even though Walter like doesn't want that, when he's presented with the opportunity to have it, he's easily corruptible. And I think that's the problem, and I think that that's why also this is so relevant to right now, is like that. I feel like that's a discussion topic that I see thrown around all the time. It's like, how are these young men corrupted into the manosphere? How is this happening? How are they getting pulled into this? And it's like, I think that core idea of like corruption and appealing to like, um you know your most primal level of like, it would be great to be served all the time exactly how I want. Like, the fact that like even the people that say that they do not want that, I mean it's dark, but like that's just not the case. And in Walter's case, he's willing to sacrifice literally everything just to benefit himself. That is unfortunately, that's 2026. You know, like that is super, that idea is in the conversation, our cultural conversations a lot, I think. And it just shows the relevance of it. But yeah, in 2004, it's like these things that are supposed to be super funny are like super like it's both not funny because it's not funny, and also because it's like, oh, unfortunately it can't be funny. Unfortunately, this we're not able to laugh.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because these conversations are happening around the new Boys season. I don't know if you
Oh
ever
really?
watched that show,
I've
where
watched
it's
part of
like
it, but I'm not up to date.
it's fine. I'm sticking it through. I still enjoy it, but
Yeah.
well, when the show came out in 2019, it was comic. It was comical because it was like these this is like our reality but like more crazy, and like what if all this stuff happened but it would never happen, and then flash forward to season 4, season 5, and it's like, oh, this is just our country now. Like
Right.
it's a bit more hard to like laugh, you know.
Right.
um
Yeah. Anyway, we're in the beginning of the summary, aren't we?
uh no, we are in the middle of the book versus
Oh,
movie
let's
summary.
go. We haven't even talked
Yeah.
about Charmaine yet. I want to talk about Charmaine.
No, we really haven't. Yeah, we can dive into Charmaine. She's not a character in the 2004 version.
Okay.
Although, in the grocery store, they're like, "Hi, Charmaine." I forget who says that. But there
Yeah,
is a character named Charmaine, but she is not
they pay
our Charmaine.
tribute, but it's not our girl.
No,
Charmaine
no,
is
no.
like, I just love her in the book because I think that like this is just a character analysis podcast, to be honest. Like this specific episode to me, I'm like, let's open up all of these people. But
It's fine. Yeah.
like Charmaine specifically, it's like, you know, she's so different from Joanna and Bobby. Like she loves tennis, which is great, but she loves horoscopes. She hates having sex with her husband.
I
She's
love that
so
detail. It
opinionated.
was
Yeah.
crazy.
When she talks about like the
Her
city
husband's
he buys her,
nuts.
her
Yeah.
husband is insane. Um,
Yeah.
but like, and she has a tennis court, and she's so different. She has such a distinct personality, but and like her interests are completely different from the other like rational women that she's around. But because they're able to unite over like the fact that they are different, and it's just a really nice relationship to see them like flourish, and that's why it's so heartbreaking when she gets lobotomized.
I felt
It's
like
just
her
yeah.
presence in the 2004 version was definitely missed, but they did create a new character,
Yes, they did.
Roger Bart.
Roger.
I liked his inclusion, I'm gonna be honest, but yeah, I think Charmaine, like I said, like this book is so small, and the fact that they could really differentiate the characters is pretty cool.
And it's like, you know, they like this scene where Joanna's like comes over to Charmaine's house and she's like, what are you, what's going on, you know? And she's like, oh, I stopped reading those silly horoscope things. And it's like, you know, the entire book until this point, her entire personality has been like analyzing people's horoscopes. And then you're like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And then she looks outside and the tennis court is being ripped up. And it's like,
Devastating. For a putting green? Are you kidding me?
green, and she's like,
Oh my
husband needs to
gosh.
be happy, and like it's just like I don't know. I agree with you. I think that like Roger's character, this is if I can say some praise about 2004, Roger's character raises really interesting questions about domestic servitude and like how it's not necessarily defined by sex, and the fact that like toxic masculinity and like patriarchy, oh god, I just said the word patriarchy.
You said
Patriarchy.
it.
I know.
We're an hour
Yes,
in and we
I
finally said it.
know. And that patriarchy is not confined to like heterosexual relationships under very specific circumstances, but that it affects Roger and his relationship too. And that is an interesting angle that obviously we do not get in the source material.
It raises a lot of questions in terms of
This
like
is a lot of questions.
well, it's just like these husbands fell in love with these people at some point for hopefully for their interests and not just their looks. And
Right,
so it's like, well, you married a man that was more on the feminine side and
right,
embraced, you know, fashion and liked all those things, and now you want to change him?
right.
Like, why? And
Why?
then he wants to run for Senate?
Yeah.
Huh? Like
And then
within
it's,
a day?
yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. And like, it's super weird, but it's like I think about that scene in the beginning of the book, which is not in the movies. I'm pretty sure I actually can't remember if it's in 2004, but I'm pretty sure it's not, where Joanna wakes up to her husband,
That's not in
you
any
know.
version. No.
And that
That took me off guard. That's when I was like,
that
"Oh,
scene,
something's wrong with Walter."
to me, like that scene is that's the story. You know, it's like she wakes up um and finds him in his own world. Um there's not really a way to talk about this without using the right words. Because the whole concept of throwing away what you're describing, throwing away like all the things that you fell in love with and the person and like their interest and all of that in favor of something that you in favor of your fantasy is masturbatory. And so the fact that like that scene is the
Wow, yeah.
metaphor of what the entire story is. And she's like, wow, you're not gonna
You're
include me in
gonna
this
wake
or
me
whatever.
up,
No,
like, you
doesn't care,
know?
doesn't care. So
Wow. That's
what do I feel
yeah.
about that scene?
I hadn't considered that, but you're right. That pretty much sums up the whole point of the Stepford
That's
Wives.
that's like it could just be a short story of that scene, but obviously it wouldn't make sense outside of the context of the story. So
Mhm, mhm. Good stuff. See, that would be in a remake.
that would
That would
absolutely
be in
be
a
in the
modern
remake.
one.
That'd be like the
Yeah.
opening scene of the remake. You know,
I think we have to do this.
this should be on HBO
A24,
Max.
Neon,
Yeah, yeah. Somebody
HBO,
needs to get on this.
whoever owns HBO by the time this comes out.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness, that's true. Could
let's
be
do.
anybody.
We could do a TV show that hasn't been done yet.
That's true. That's true. We could do a limited series.
There we go. All right. So back to Joanna and Bobby. In the book, the two write a letter to the state asking them to look into the water. Bobby has this feeling that the factories and the power plants that are popping up around Stepford are polluting the water and causing the wives around town to become subservient and become like robots. And Joanna, she's not really totally buying this, but she wants to be supportive of her friends. So she's like, okay, let's write a letter to the state. Let's see if they know anything about this. Maybe check the Department of, or the Department of Environmental, whatever. I don't know. Can come out and see what's going on. In the film, they reach out to Joanna's ex, who is a chemist, to test the water. Totally different. Took me off guard. This new character that's introduced, who Joanna had a fling with in college, but they were maybe gonna get married, but it didn't end up working out. And yeah, he doesn't see anything wrong with the water. I really wonder why they went down that route instead.
Yeah.
Because in the book, it's just like the state writes back and they're like, "There's nothing wrong."
Yeah.
And it's like,
Which,
okay, well,
it's funny because it's like that is true. It's like I think in the book when that happens, it almost seems like it's lending itself to a larger conspiracy theory where it's like, oh, they're trying to cover this up. But in reality, like, no, like nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong with the water. Nothing was wrong with the chemicals or whatever. Like nothing was happening because
mhm.
nothing was actually happening. So
Yeah. It would also be like, I think Joanna brought it up. She's like, well, why would it only affect the women?
Right.
Like, if there was something wrong with the water, why would it only affect
Right.
us?
And then she's like, "Oh, well, maybe it's hormonal," and, like, which is honestly, like, they were very smart for, what they were
Yep.
trying to put together. If it were me in that situation, I'd probably be making the exact same conclusions that they were, and I'd probably be got.
I think, yeah, it is scary because you know something's wrong, and like part of you is like, I need to get out of here ASAP, but there's all these things limiting you, like, oh, we just bought this house and we'd be losing money if we sold, especially now. Gosh, we would, if we bought a house in Stepford, we would not be
We're
leaving.
living there. Living
We
there.
were living there, we're becoming robots. It's happening. um and so there's all these, like, oh, we'd have to pull the kids out of school, and Walter makes all these points, so it's not as easy as like, oh, I'm a single woman moving from city to city and I can do what I want. It's like, no, there's actual things to consider, and then next thing you know, you're a robot. And
So interesting. Like,
yeah.
it should be a tip off in some way. Like, isn't it kind of weird how there's no divorced couples in this city? You know? Like, that's a little bit
Ooh,
weird.
they don't talk about that at all.
No one is divorced here. And also, there's no like teenagers that are turning 20, like that are like, there's nobody who's pre
Wait.
Stepford wife age. You know
No,
what I
no,
mean?
no, there was the babysitter. Joanna
That's true.
brings in a babysitter, and they
But it's
make the
like,
joke of
what's
like,
her deal? Has she been animatronicked? No. When does she get animatronic?
yeah, I guess when she
When
gets
she gets
married,
married. Yeah,
right?
which, I guess the whole thing is a statement on marriage specifically and not just like gender roles, but I guess more specifically gender roles in marriage.
There's this interesting thing where when a man uh has a daughter, and suddenly he's like, what, women are people.
What? What?
I see women for the first time and they
I've
have it so
seen
hard.
it.
So
I've
maybe
seen it.
I've seen
We need
it.
to tell people
It's
about
like
this.
Jake Paul, like, women have it, not to be woke or anything, but like, women have it
Women have it
hard.
hard.
And so maybe it's a thing where it's like the dads are like, well, we don't want to kill our daughters. We don't
Right.
want them to
That'd
become
be
Stepford
crazy.
wives. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe all the Stepford wives are just outsourced.
It is interesting because in the book we get they're outsourced. In the book we
They're
get
all brought
like
from outside.
there's this moment where Joanna goes and talks to Bobby's son in the book, and she's like, "Hey, have you noticed that like your mom is like different now?" And he's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Do you think that's like weird?" And he's like, "I really hope it lasts, but it's probably not going to." And
Yeah.
like that's so funny because it's like it's sad, you know, that he doesn't see his mom as a person, you know?
Yep.
He sees his mom the same way that his father sees his mom, you know? That's so
Mm-hmm.
weird. Like, that's so weird, but
Yeah.
how did
Once you
Ira
become a
Levin
mom,
nail that? Like, that's
yeah.
insanely specific and a cute observation, and it's I'm elated. I love talking about this book.
Well, once, yeah, I mean, plenty of women talk about how when you become a mom, you lose your identity, essentially. You just become mom, capital M
Mom,
mom.
yeah.
And I'm reading a book right now that's, if y'all like Stepford Wives, check out Yesteryear. It just came out. It's a Good Morning America book. It's going to also be made into a movie. And basically, it's about an influencer trad wife who gets sent back to 1855. She talks about how when she first became a mom and her daughter would say mama, she felt like revolted. And it was really interesting how similar, like, I just reading Stepford Wives and then reading this, I'm like, damn, very similar.
Yeah.
A character that we hinted at the beginning of the episode, who does not appear in any film adaptation, is
Oh.
Ruth Ann.
Mhm.
So Joanna befriends Ruth Ann, who is a black woman who moves to Stepford with her family, and she is a character that is solely in the book. Although in the 1975 film, they do reference that a black family is moving to Stepford, and there's this whole thing about like, oh, we're the most progressive place in Connecticut or whatever. Um, So Ruthann is definitely more prevalent in the book. We meet her family, and Joanna, even when she's trying to escape, goes to Ruthann's place for help, but she doesn't quite make it there. So this character pops up quite a bit in the book. She's also the character whose POV we get at the end in the final chapter, where we see, oh shoot, Joanna was officially Stepforded. So yeah, that is. I'm curious why every iteration has left Ruthann out. To be
It
honest.
is interesting. It's like, honestly, really weird. There's no reason to not have Ruth Ann in there. She only serves the narrative to be included.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's too much for the story to bear, you know. But the thing is, it's kind of difficult to talk about because Stepford Wives is just a story about identity politics, and so it's kind of like when you look at it and you're like, why are you removing the only black woman in the story if not for reasons that are unsavory, if not explicitly racist? And like, why would it's
It's
just
almost.
interesting the elements they do include versus what they choose to cut, especially because you mentioned intersectionality at the beginning of this episode,
Mhm.
and like there's an opportunity to expand on that. It's not even an opportunity, it's explicitly in the book. And
Yeah,
that's what,
Ira Levin
like,
got it.
I
He
love
brings
putting
up
in
the
his book.
women's lib movement. He brings up the civil rights movement, which obviously book written in the early 70s. Um, Obviously, it's going to touch on those movements that were very prevalent in the 60s and 70s. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's like,
it goes back to what I said about Betty Friedan, and how she left out certain individuals for her ideal movement. And part of me wonders, like, if, the men behind the scenes producing and writing and directing were like, well, we're already kind of talking about sexism a bit in this, so maybe we shouldn't talk about anything else. Like, maybe it'd be too much, is kind of what I'm getting at, is probably what they were thinking.
and
I don't
it's so
know.
interesting because it's like I totally get what you're saying. It's like, and the counter argument to that is like, but it's in the book. Like, it's like, it's not like you're infusing anything that's not already in there. It's like it's fully built
Hmm.
into the characters and the arcs, and it is literally the ending of the book is
Yep.
her POV. So I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of being racist outright, but I also think it's extremely strange that there's no version to date that includes her.
Except ours, which will come
It's
out in
ours
2028.
coming 2028.
On HBO. To keep
Yeah,
coming back to
exactly.
this.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive kind of to the end here. So Joanna is starting to learn about, thing after Bobby gets transformed into a robot. She's like, okay,
I love
something's
it.
going on here in the men's association. So she goes to the library, learns more of the history of Stepford, figures out that, hey, all these women were a part of a women's movement, an organization in Stepford. And weird, the men's association is brand new. It started 7 years ago. It's not this thing that's been around forever. So she learns all about this, and she also discovers that Dale Cobra, who is the head of the men's association, he used to make animatronics for Disneyland, aka Diz, who we keep bringing up. So this whole thing about her going to the library, not something that happens in the film. I think the only reason she has an inkling about animatronics and all that is because she goes to the therapist, and the
Mhm.
therapist mentions Disney or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and then
think,
it leads her to go to the
yeah.
men's association, and all the stuff happens at the end of the film. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
you're right. There's something with the therapist brings up Disneyland. I can't remember what it
Hmm.
is now though. And then she's like,
Did you think the therapist was in on it?
"Oh, I love this question."
The age-old
Um
question.
because it could really go either way. And
Yeah.
like, I personally think that
Well,
she
was she in Stepford or was she in that other town
She was
that's
in
like
the other
near
town.
there?
I think she could not
Um,
have been in on it because none of the men would um trust a woman with a degree. Like I don't think that like there's any world
true.
where they would go to a woman doctor for literally any reason. I think that that
Hmm.
was a legitimate therapist, but Walter was so secure in the fact that he had been gaslighting his wife for several months that she was going to sound insane. So I think that this was all part of the performative male energy of like I'm going to send her to a doctor and that doctor is going to go you're insane, and then because everything that you're saying couldn't possibly be true because it's too crazy to believe, and then she comes back and then he's still okay, and he did what he should do. He sent her to a doctor, but you know, it's all part of the gaslighting scheme. So I think that she was not in on it. I think she was a real doctor, but the whole scheme was so insane that she gave her actual doctor advice, which was incorrect.
Which was incorrect.
Y-
What did she
well, doesn't
suggest? I
she
forget.
say doesn't she say that like she basically she I guess she doesn't really tell Joanna that she's wrong. She's just kind of like it kind of seems like the problem is you, right? She's kind of like, "Oh, well, you'd be sad anywhere. Like it's not really about Stepford. You weren't happy in the
Mm,
city. You'd be unhappy anywhere." Isn't
oh,
that what she says?
right. It's something about like the transition of city life to suburbia is
Right.
difficult for
It's
any women.
which ironically is an important thing thematically. Like that is true, but I think that that's what she actually thought was happening. I think that like she
Hmm.
probably heard her complaints about like these women are like robots and was like, I understand why you feel this way. Like it's a different world out there. You know, like I'm sure that that's like I believe the therapist was doing her best, but she was out of her depth.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think anybody would be able to help in this situation.
No.
Okay. Okay. And then a similar question is, I think you earlier in the episode suggested that Walter did not know what was going on in the book.
Oh. I think that no, I think he knew. If I said that I didn't mean to. I think he knew the whole
Okay.
time.
I think I also agree. I think in the book he totally knew from the jump. That's why he wanted to move to Stepford. I would
Oh,
say,
you think
yeah,
that he
that's
knew before he got to Stepford?
yeah, yeah. That's
See,
why
I
he
don't know
wanted
about
to
that.
join the men's association. I think
Well,
he
but he
did.
it's a good question because I think that if we're looking at this on a thematic level, like does like the reason why people move to the suburbs and further away from the city, you know, and how that specific I mean, to me this makes me think of Mad Men, like specifically Don Draper and his wife and the difference of his whole life in the city. It's like we see Walter go to the city a lot during the book. Um
Hmm.
but
Because he still
he
works there.
Right, but his wife and kids are out in the suburbs, and Betty, you know, is like I'm talking about a completely different show here, but like Betty is a perfect housewife. She honestly would probably be a good example of a Stepford wife if she wasn't actually depressed. You know, that concept of like I'm gonna go sequester my suburban life. Honestly, Mad Men is a good comp for this too because Betty. Have you seen Mad Men?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Well, Betty's a
I'm just
former
letting you talk.
model. Thank you. Betty's a former model who wants to get back to work, but she has been sequestered into being a housewife out in the suburbs while her husband, who is a madman who works in advertising, um, is a playboy in the city. And
Mm,
it's that general concept of the American dream and how that's like linked to I am going to uproot my working wife and plant her over here where she will now magically turn into my house slave. And it's like if we look at that in that concept on the cultural landscape of America, especially in that time period, yes, Walter knew because of the fact that he decided to do that. He wouldn't have done that. In terms of what the Stepford, I feel like I'm speaking very weirdly here, but in terms of what this, like, the metaphorical change that becoming a Stepford wife entails is the choice of the husband to abandon his wife's wishes to move somewhere like Stepford, you know? That's him
Mm-hmm.
choosing to do that to her. It's not when he arrives in Stepford that he makes the decision. So in that way, I think you're right. I think he does know because he decided to move there.
Yeah.
Did literal book Walter know that? I don't know. I don't really know. I kind of think that he did get the idea planted when he went to the men's association in the book.
Okay. I have a feeling. I feel like he knew beforehand,
It's an
but
interesting
you could
question.
interpret it.
I wonder what our listeners think. Listeners, drop in the comments. Did
Let us
Walter know?
know.
Did Walter know
Yeah.
before he moved to Stepford, or did he get convinced when he moved to Stepford to animatronicize his wife?
All right, so jumping into the end here and how it differentiates between the film. So in the book, Joanna runs to Rothan's. She's trying to escape from her husband because she knows something's up. Also, abandons her kids, as we talked about.
She
But she
does
gets
not
caught up.
care.
She does not care. She gets caught up by the men who are part of the men's association. They're in talk with Walter to go and get her, and they're trying to be all comforting, like, we're chill, we're not gonna do anything, like, what do we gotta do to convince you that we're not gonna turn you into a robot? And she's like, okay, well, I know for a fact Bobby is a robot, but if I cut her and she bleeds, she then you can take me with you, and I give up.
Well,
um
in the book, she's like, if the men are like, if would you believe it if she bleeds, which I think is an important distinction than Joanna having the thought herself, because of course the men's first thought is,
oh,
how can we physically break the woman to show her that she is a real person, you know? Like, Joanna's not, I'm pretty sure that Joanna in the book is not like, if like, I would believe it if she bleeds, but the men are like, if she bleeds, would you believe her? And then she's like, yeah, if she bleeds, I guess I would think that she's a real person. Whereas in the
okay, yeah, that is a
movie,
difference for sure.
and then in the movie, she's like, she takes the knife and she's like, see, look, I bleed. Do you bleed? And then she stabs her, but she was right, so it was okay.
Yeah, she does fully stab her in the stomach. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that she
It's a
was a
good
robot and
thing.
not an actual
Yeah.
person. Because that could have sucked.
Yeah.
She agrees to go with the men. She's like, okay, I'll go to Bobby's place. We'll see if she bleeds. We don't actually see the result of this because the chapter just ends. So it's like, okay, are there actually animatronics going on? Like, I
Right.
really did like that ending. The
I
film
agree.
totally tells us what's going on.
Yeah.
Joanna shows up to the men's association. She's looking for her kids, and uh, is it Dale Cobra in the film as well?
I'm
I
not
know they
sure.
change him to Michael in the or Mike in the
Mike, yeah.
2024, the 2004 version, but I think
Yeah.
it's still Dale Cobra who's the leader of
I
the
think
men's
it is.
association.
Yeah.
He shows her this creepy room that's identical to her and Walter's room. And inside, as Sam mentioned, there is a robot version of her with no eyes, and it is very cool, very creepy.
It's
Uh,
like, when I think of Stepford Wives, like, that is the image, the her turning around and having completely like, and folks at home, I cannot emphasize enough how freaky this image is, especially considering the rest of the
mhm.
movie is based in realism. Like, when she turns around and has no eyes, it is so off-putting. I literally thought about that image after watching the movie for so long, because I was like, oh my god, that was freaky. Like, I can't believe, like, it's just crazy. It's scary. Folks, watch it. It's on Tubi. It's free.
Yeah, it is. It is free on Tubi. That's how I watched it. The idea is that these men essentially kill off their wives and then have a fully animatronic version of them that is hotter and does things for them.
It's such a
And
funny idea that these guys are like, no, I like my wife, but make her a little bit hotter.
yeah,
Like, that,
well, they
you know,
can't look too different, or the kids will know.
it's true, but it's like,
Like,
that
kind of do have to
unironically
look
to
somewhere.
me is a very funny part of Stepford Wives, is the fact that, like, these men have the ability to significantly augment their wives. I think this, if this was a 2026 version, I think that there'd be more of an element of physical augmentation present than there is in any of the previous iterations, because I feel like that's more part of our culture right now. Um, it's
Yeah,
only
that's
like
very.
slight,
It's
there's like
much easier
slight
to get
tweaks to
plastic
them.
surgery and stuff.
Right. It's like all the
Yeah,
things that they could do to them are so much more accessible now. But anyway, it's just really funny to me that they're like, no, again, I like my wife, but make her a teensy bit skinnier. Like just
and
a little bit.
blonde.
And blonde. Yeah, exactly. And also she should be wearing a girdle at all times for some reason. It's just like it's just
Hmm.
like weird.
Full beat, full like hair
For me,
done,
why
all
do
of
they
it.
even care about
Yeah,
that? Like
yeah. How do they even know what like
right, why
how
do
to
they know
apply
that?
makeup or yeah?
Exactly.
They have to put like AI tutorials in them to like how to do blush and how to do eyeshadow.
Well, you know what's funny you
Um,
bring up? Well, that's another thing that I thought was, painful in the 2004 version is the fact that every
let's get
single
into it.
time. Well, I mean, there's so many things, but like every single like they, immediately that they're all robots because they start glitching out. Like that's
They have sparks coming out of them.
there's no room for mystery or like, hey, what is going on here? Because they start fully malfunctioning, which is like,
Yeah,
guys,
and they're
if
fully
I saw that,
synchronized.
I'd leave. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing is it's like we do such a disservice to Joanna in this version because we take away her ability to think and use her brain.
She also fully conforms. She's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
if this is how Walter wants to save the marriage, then I'm gonna become a
And I
housewife.
guess I'll
Just
do
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what?
It's like this is not my
Yeah,
girl. This is not my avid
not my
Shutterbug
Joanna.
girl. Mm-mm.
No. She also is not a photographer. I
Right.
don't think she's a photographer in the. No, she is in the 75 version. She is.
She
She has
is,
like
yeah.
dark room.
Although
Yeah.
they do reduce her a lot. Like in the book, she's like, I have been paid for my photographs, and this is how I make money.
Hmm.
And then in the '70s movie, she's like, I'm like a little bit of a semi-professional photographer. And then in the 2004 version, she's the president of a network. It's like they smelled the Stepford Wives, and then they were like,
Yeah.
cameras, stuff, and the lens on society. Let's expand.
Well, they also don't utilize the really creepy scene from the book where she's going out taking photos around Stepford and she
Right.
notices she tries to take photos of the men's association. Police car pulls up, is
He's like, what are
distracting
you
her, talking
doing?
to her. And then when she
Yeah.
looks back to the men's association, the windows are all covered. So it's like he was on call to like distract her so she doesn't get
Yeah.
any info on them. It's really good and I'm just surprised that no version has used that.
It's like every single scene is such a strong metaphor. It's like if I'm remembering correctly, they specifically note that that police officer is a young man. Like he's not a married man, but he's already defending that structure even though he's not a part of it because he knows it's going to benefit him one day. It's like every
Yeah.
moment he's literally policing it. It's like it's so entrenched in like metaphor and yet it's like literal. It's so good. I can't. You guys need to read this book. It's so short. Read this book, you
Do
guys.
it. Do it.
Well, you can already tell where I'm going with what my favorite thing is gonna be in terms of
I
like
think
book
I have a
movie.
little bit of an idea. I do want to talk about. Well, okay, let's finish up this, and then we'll dive
Yeah.
into my thoughts on the 2004 version because I do have some more thoughts. Um, so obviously, the film is pretty explicit in what happens with Joanna, and the book is a bit more. You can kind of interpret it a little bit. Now, the book actually ends with Joanna fully becoming a Stepford wife. We see this through Ruth Ann's POV. Uh, Joanna's, got the looks. She's got her cart is fully. How did they describe it? It was like her shopping cart is all put together in place. Everything has its place. Meanwhile, Ruth Ann's looking at her own cart and she's like, it's all messy and because she's a human being. And so we get the idea that like, oh, okay, Joanne has fully been replaced. And that is how the book ends. Now there's in every version there is this grocery store scene, but obviously we don't get it through Ruth Ann's perspective. And those are the differences I could find between the 75 version and the book. obviously we can still dive into the 2004 version because there's so many the
I mean, to
implication
me, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
the implications I just because obviously
The
it's like
implications. Oh, my sister, the implications.
the movie had a really hard time trying to figure out if these Stepford women are robots fully or if they have microchips. Now, at the end of the movie, we are told that they have microchips basically so that we can have a happy ending. But throughout the film, we get these very interesting scenes where one, a Stepford wife, her boobs get bigger, but when using a remote, they press a button on a remote, her boobs get bigger, which if she only has microchips, how are her boobs
How
getting
are they
bigger?
doing that? That's a good
And
question.
then the weirdest thing is that one of the husbands uses his wife as an ATM machine, so
Oh
money
yeah,
pops out of her mouth, which is
they
like,
do
where's
that.
the money coming from? If they are flesh and blood, and the only thing different
Is a
with
microchip.
them is the microchips, where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Have you not thought about this? I'm just like the implications.
Well, the
I
main thing
can't.
for me that sticks out about 2004 is the fact that it's Glenn Close after all, and that it's not a man. Like that's the thing that to me,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
honestly did not fixate too much on the technology aspects of it, but as you bring up all these concerns, I understand why you do. I think that none of that makes any sense. So yeah, and it's crazy too because they chose something that does make sense, and they decided to make it not make sense. You know, like
Yeah.
they
I'm like,
it's already
microchips,
figured out,
easy. Whatever.
right? And then they
Yeah.
decided to make it, you know, different. Like it
I
already makes
it's
sense.
worse. It's worse because I shout out We Hate Movies, which is a podcast I really like. They did an episode on Stepford Wives 2004, so I listened to it earlier today. And they're like, apparently there are deleted scenes, and one of those scenes has Bette Midler fully turning into a lawnmower. And it obviously was cut because that's like insane. But what was going on with the writers? Like they didn't know what they were
Right.
doing.
Well, it's just funny to me because hearing that, it's like, okay, I get what they're going for, right? They're going for objectification. It's like she literally turns into an object for use in the house. But it is so over exaggerated that it stomps on the point and like spits on the point, and it's like, this is a crazy idea. And it's like, well,
Isn't
this
this funny? Yeah.
right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, but that's the thing about it is that the story is based on the fact that it's not, right? Like, isn't that that's an insane thing that you've just told me, Tessa.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
Now I have to look up these deleted
I
scenes
was gonna
because
say
that
now I
sounds
have to see these scenes. That's
horrible.
horrible.
Okay. Well, any other final thoughts on any adaptation or the book or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the difference in that Glenn Close is the one who's really behind it is an insane thing to do in 2004 because it's like, well,
I don't understand the reasoning behind
it's
it.
just insulting because it's I think that they wanted to pull off like a real twist or something. But it's like what you do inherently is then you make the guys the good guys. This is what I meant at the beginning of the movie
Mm-hmm.
too. It's like you take Mike White, who you know wasn't really Mike White at the time, I think, but you take Mike White, who is a victim. It's like his relationship in home was destroyed because of her media empire, and even though he goes completely off the rails, like she suffers consequences for that, and it kind of feels justified because this dude's life got completely messed up.
I didn't
um
think so.
well, I don't think that he's
He shot up
justified.
his wife and his ex-wife and her partners and then
That's
tried to shoot
true,
up another woman.
but it's so exaggerated. I guess it's not that he's a sympathetic character, but it's the kind of thing where it's like this guy went on TV and he's like, I love my wife, and then next to him his wife is like, I'm hooking up with 8 people, and like,
But it
it's
didn't
not
even air yet. Like nobody knew. I
no,
guess
but
like yeah, him losing his wife sucks, but he's
oh,
also
him losing his wife sucks, but
crazy.
but I guess it's more like as the audience the fact that Joanna derives celebration from this makes her unsympathetic. I guess that's what it is. It's not that Mike White is
Yeah,
sympathetic, it's that we inherently think that something is wrong with Joanna because she would
they're
be like,
trying to
this
make
is good, you know?
they're trying to make the working woman like a villain,
Right.
basically,
And specifically, like, she
and
profits off
that's
of breaking
wild.
apart traditional relationships, and it's like, that's she needs to change, you know? And because of that
She needs
same
to
thing
stop
at the
wearing all
end.
black.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then at the end of that movie, it's like, oh, and at the end of the day, it's not really the men's fault at all. It's the woman's fault. It was never the men at all. It's woman against woman. And it's like, well, that's actively not what the book is about. Like that's a
Mhm.
completely different interpretation that redistributes blame of patriarchy and patriarchal customs to be the victim's fault. It is a victim blaming movie, and that's why it can never be respected in the way that the source material can be, is because the core thesis is inside out.
Facts. Yeah, that pretty much sums
That's
it
all
up.
I have to say about the adaptations.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I think I already know your answer, but what do you prefer, the book or the film?
Definitely the 2004
Girl.
movie.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
You know it's the book, girl.
I
You know
can
it's.
respect your opinion, I guess.
I'd like to meet the person that does like the 2004 movie better than any
Yeah,
other
who's
version.
out there? Who likes the 2004 version?
Drop in the comments if you hate my opinions and you love the 2004 version of this movie. I bet there are people that like it though. I'm sure that
My
there is
mom
like
liked it.
yeah, I'm sure there's like a portion of the population who, if they were in the right age demographic when that movie came out, would have had a bombastic time watching that movie. But I think for me and you, the listener, who are in the time that we are currently in,
Mhm.
though that take has a hard time resonating.
Okay,
What was
so
your wait? So what was your preference?
wait, well, you said the 2004 version.
No,
Do you want
okay,
to
definitely
specify the?
it is the book. The book is my
Okay, I
actual.
was like, let's clear that
I
up.
just wanted to catch everybody off guard, but no,
Yeah,
it's the book.
you caught
For
me
me.
off
What about
guard. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. The 75 version was okay, but the book really, like I said, it filled me with so much dread at the end, and there's obviously so much more with the characters and their personalities that we just don't have time for in a movie, but that's the case with most of the books that we read. So, not gonna knock a movie down for that completely. But yeah, I think the book just filled me with so much more emotions, which is
Yeah,
interesting because the both the book and the film of Rosemary's Baby really are so similar, and they fill you with the exact same emotions, and they hit in all the right places, and they bring up so many questions and things to think about, that it's interesting that we still have no version, no film version that represents those themes
it's true.
correctly
And like,
or fully make you think,
you mean
feel
a
something.
tonally accurate, theatrically distributed feature film adaptation of the Stepford Wives? Like, yeah, that does not
Yeah,
exist.
something that really sticks with you. Okay, this versus that. Whew. One of them I think I'm gonna get rid of because I think we've already answered it.
Why? Which one?
It was 1975 versus
Oh,
2004.
okay, definitely
I think
2004.
we, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The rest of our podcast episode very much confirmed that. So,
Yes, exactly.
okay, I'm gonna start with an easy one here for you:
Let's go.
suburb versus city.
Like, which would I live? Who would win in a fight? Which,
Yeah, that makes
well,
total sense.
city would win in a fight, but which
City
I
would
mean,
win in a fight if it
for
was
sure,
personified.
for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, but
Where would you rather live? What are your goals? What are your life plan? What's your 10-year plan, Sam?
well, depends what city, right? I mean, like, they live in the suburbs of Connecticut. Their
In
closest
the book,
city.
it's never specified, right? It
In
never
my
says.
It's true, actually. In my
I
head,
don't think it ever specifies.
they lived in the suburbs of New York. I thought that Stepford was an East Coast town for sure, but I didn't know like where. And I thought that the city they were going in and out of was New York, but like you're right, it doesn't
Yeah,
actually say that.
they
Um,
just say the city, so it could be set anywhere. But Ira Levin did base it on his hometown in Connecticut. So.
oh, okay, so then that's probably where the Connecticut piece comes from. I
Mhm.
think I think that there's different arguments for both. You're asking me like a life question right now. It's like, do you want to live in the city or the suburbs? Dude, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, I think that like there's I grew up in the suburbs, so like there's a nostalgic part of that. And there's also something like spooky about like being in the suburbs and it being like 4 a.m. and like fog coming in and like, you
Yes.
know, you being able to like walk around the streets and stuff. And like there is like it has an atmosphere um that the city does not have, but at the same time the city is the city and I wouldn't trade it for the world, although I live in a different part of the city than I lived in for the last 3 years and I like where I live now.
Oh, nice.
So but you know what, I'm gonna go with suburbs. It depends which suburbs, but I'm gonna go with suburbs, except I would be the librarian. That's the distinguishing factor. If I were in the Stepford Wives, I would be the librarian. I would not. I would be an old lady in the library, and I'd be chill with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and the thing is that Ira Levin wrote this, and Rosemary's Baby takes place in a city, so he's just diving into the horror that exists in both.
It's
So,
true. He explores both. What about
you
you?
know,
What's your
yeah.
city or suburbs?
I like a suburb that is within driving distance of a city.
Okay, well, yeah, but that's what a suburb is. What suburb is it within driving distance of a city? Isn't it
That's true.
suburban?
That's true. I think you're right.
So you like the suburbs?
I was just thinking how Walter can go to work every day in the city, so obviously
Yeah,
they're
he is
close enough
close
for him
enough
to.
that he's able to like go there. It's true. Like the nearest,
Yeah,
it's not the same thing. It's more like in Los Angeles. It's like going to work in Hollywood and living in, and living in.
Northridge.
Sure, yeah, Van Nuys, exactly. It's like that's probably the range that he had radius wise
Yeah,
versus yeah, versus living in Hollywood proper and working in Hollywood, or downtown and working in downtown, and like that's a nightmare. So, you know, I guess we're
yeah.
suburbs girls. People move out there for reasons.
We
But if you're not
we've
married, you're
experienced
safe.
both. You've
Experience.
experienced it more than I, but we both have experience, so
We do have experience.
I think we can safely say it, the
Yeah.
suburb.
And the
Okay,
killer's not the suburbs. It's the marriage.
true. So just don't get married
Don't
in a
get married.
suburb
Live wherever you want.
or in an apartment building.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question. Thanks
Yes.
for the segue.
Yeah.
Would you rather be married to Walter versus Guy Woodhouse?
Are you kidding me? That's insane of a question. Wait, Guy is straight up evil though. Like Walter's a horrible person, but it's because he like sucks. Guy is like genuinely an evil guy. Isn't
Walter
he?
wants to kill his wife to turn and get a robot version.
He
Guy
but
is like,
Walter's yeah.
"Hey, I'm just gonna get you impregnated by the devil, but we can have more children, and my career's gonna be
Oh,
great.
I
So we're gonna
forgot. I
have
guess
a
that's
great
but I guess in
life."
my head there's something about selling your wife's body without her consent and allowing her to be R-worded by the devil that like is like that is worse than what Walter did.
Do you
Well,
think
but
it's
maybe
worse
not
than
though.
killing her?
But the thing also that Guy did is the gaslighting, but Walter did that too. I think that
Oh yeah, he did.
Walter is certainly an evil man.
They are
With
both
that,
gaslighters.
they're both aggressive gaslighters. I think,
Yeah,
however, who would I rather be married to?
yeah.
Guy, because I feel like Guy. First of all, I think we talked about this on Rosemary's Babies episode, but I do feel like he did care about her in the book.
I
But
think yeah.
But I
finish
think
with that.
that Walter is a whiny little man baby, and he's like, "Wah, I want to wipe that. I want it to be like." And I think that that's really what the issue is. And Guy wasn't like that. Guy was also selfish and gaslighting, but there was a hint of caring about her, whereas Walter explicitly wanted to change everything about her, which is not
Mhm.
ultimately caring about her. Who would you rather be married to?
I'm gonna agree with you, and I think Walter, he pisses me off because he is such a loser. And all the Stepford husbands are total nerds,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that they show more in the 2004 version. Like, these guys are lame. And Bette Midler even makes a note. She's like, why are all these tens dating all these like nerds or married to these nerds? And it's just like, yeah, it, incels are nerds. So incels are losers, and
I
that's
need
what.
somebody to make a quote of Tessa saying, "Incels are nerds. Incels are losers."
But I think that's what Walter represents, and that's why I hate him with a burning passion. And he's going to join the Men We Hate and Horror
And we
board. Now,
hate
the question is, which version of Walter is going to go on the board?
Matthew Broderick,
Yeah,
please.
he is a scummy little guy.
His version of Walter, whatever. Matthew Broderick
Yeah. Okay. He's joining the cork board.
going on the wall.
All right. That is gonna wrap up our episode. Thank you
Woo.
guys for listening. Come back in 2 weeks. We're gonna be talking whatever happened to Baby Jade. So we're gonna continue on this. I don't know. It's not even Women's History Month, but whatever. It's gonna be Dreadful Digest Women's Month.
Woo!
So, yeah, so we'll see you then. Follow us on at Dreadful Digest Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and we'll see you then. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.